Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Tiny Blue Games. My name, of course, is Seesaw, or Chris, and today we are talking about Wildstar. Now, this is a bit of a sidetrack in our Casual's Guide to the Hardcore for Wildstar. Right now, I'm about to do the level 10 to 20 leveling guide video for it, but I thought right now would be a good time to do a video segment on both amp points and ability points, and one of the most useful add-ons in Wildstar to date, Vince builds. So we're going to talk about those three things in this video, rather in detail, not like, actually what builds to go with or anything, just how they work. It's more of a basic guide to how to deal with action sets, especially for people who might not have played with a limiting action bar of only 8 buttons, which is a lot less than you might have in World of Warcraft or something. So let's dive right into it. We're going to talk about, we'll talk about ability points first, because that's probably the most important thing to actually get you playing the game. So you're going to get abilities, and that you push B, the B key, by default to open this action set builder. And you're going to unlock slots as you level. I think you get every slot, which is 8 of them, by level 30. By like level 6, you have 5 of them, and then every so often you get another one up to like level 30-ish. I'm not entirely sure that's the exact level, but it's something like that. And by then you want the extra slots because you're kind of getting to a point where you have to pick and choose between certain skills you want. And that's one of Wildstar's strongest points, is they have so many interesting skills that you always kind of wish you had a different one on bar. Especially in PvP, there's always another skill or a leap or a pull or a CC that you wish you had, but you have to take something else to make your build work. And that's what I really love playing around with. There's a lot of risk reward, or giving up certain skills to get other skills. So let's talk a little bit more about how they happen. You get ability tier points. You'll get them as you level up, 1 per level, at a certain level or something like that. You can get up to a total of 48 ability points. So 41 once you hit 50, and then you can buy an additional 7 of them in many different unique ways. The game's actually really good right now, where it has a large array of ways to get them. For instance, you can get them from buying them for Elder Gems is probably the most common and the first basic way you could do it. You could get them from PvP, which is the new hot fashion way of doing it. You get them for 10,000 prestige each. You can get all of them through that. All of them through Elder Gems or through prestige. You can get them through gaining rep with certain level 50 areas, and then you can buy 1 from certain ones. You can get them from earning a gold medal in either Sanctuary of the Sword Maiden or Skullcano, I think. You only get 1 that way, I think. I haven't done that because it's hard to get gold in this game. Or you can find them randomly in certain bags, and then you can sell them on the auction house, and conversely you can also buy them off the auction house for around 20 to 30 plat, depending on how lucky you are. What you do with them is you put them into your skills that you want to use. So you have assault, you have support, and you have utility. Assault is increased assault power and is your damaging attacks. Support will be either your tanking or healing abilities. And utility, as you might have guessed, would be your utility skills. Some of them that are essential for support, and some of them are essential for DPSing. A lot of them come to shine when you start doing PvP and such, though. By putting 1 point into them, you get the skill. You get the base skill. So you only need to have 1 point in to get each base skill. As you can see, I have a few here. I've got my full action set. And then when you put your mouse over it, you can read and see what happens. And this is where a lot of the building comes into making your class's build work really well, is with the tier 4 ability and tier 8 ability. Because you can see here, as you add points up to tier 4, it just increases damage by 20. Once you get to tier 4, it increases attack speed by 33% and adds a 4th hit to the combo. Each hit now builds 150 kinetic energy, up from, 108, or down from 180. So it completely changes the skill once you get to the 4th tier. and it does it again once you get to the 8th tier. Every third use of Relentless Strike now grants Kinetic Boost. Kinetic Boost generates 10 kinetic energy every 0.25 seconds. And so the skill completely changes again. Now, each little sort of slot is an increase in one action or ability point. When you get to the tier bonuses, you have to put in 5 of them for it to work. So it sucks up a lot of ability points when you start going to tier 8. It takes in a lot more than just 8. For instance, if you have all the ability points unlocked, I'm pretty sure you can have tier 8 of 3 skills, and then everything else you could have like just the base of. And that's what a lot of people's end builds look like. That being said, for PvP and stuff, you might have more where you have a bunch of them at tier 4, or you have like one at tier 8 and a few at tier 4. Like there's a lot of different ways you can change this. You also notice that you can't buy every skill right away. For instance, you have to wait till level 21 to buy Breaching Strikes. And you do just buy them from here, which is very convenient. Whereas in beta, you had to go and walk somewhere and buy all your skills, which sucked. I think that's all I want to talk about with the just abilities in this. And we're going to move to the amp points. So in amp points, you see we have sort of kind of a pie with different slices in it. You have Pure on Assault, Pure on Support, Pure on Utility, which, talk to the Assault Support Utility we see over in the action set builder for abilities. Then you also have the hybrids, which have some very interesting skills as well. Now, I'm going to just unlearn a few of these, which you can do very cheaply at low levels, so it's not costing me anything. Just so you can sort of see what it's like when you start, because you start at level 6, I think, with amps, and then you get more as you continue. So let's say you started your character or whatever, and for questing purposes, the first 3 amps I generally put in, and this, once again, this video is not going to be about how to build your amps or anything. You usually go for your first 3 assault power ones, because that's just going to purely increase your damage by a fair amount. And pretty much every build that's a damaging build will have these. Once you put 3 points into any like sort of path or sort of pie slice, you're going to unlock the next tier right here. Now, these ones are a lot more interesting because the first 3 are just sort of stat increases by percentages. Pretty much for each one, like you have PvP power, you'd have armor pierce, over here you'd have support power, you'd have lifesteal, strike through chance, cooldown reduction. They're all going to be sort of a percentage thing, and there will be 3 tiers of it. Once you get to the next tier of the pie, you'll get some more interesting ones, like landing a critical hit against a foe below 50% health deals an additional 725 physical damage. They're just landing a critical hit grants them power for 10 seconds, increases critical hit severity by 5%, stacks 4 times. They're completely unique things that really change the way your class feels. You need 4 amp points to unlock each one of these little unlocks. In addition to that, you might have to unlock certain ones before you can put points in. As you can see, I've unlocked the tier here, but I cannot put points in because this is an inlaid amp and needs to be learnt. So to learn the amp, you can either go to the auction house and find out if it's on there. However, some of the more important amps will cost more, and you might have to wait till level 50 to be able to afford them. Before level 50, you will be able to, survive fine without having the best amps in the game. It's not a huge deal. Once you hit level 50, and I will make a video on this because it's very important, the best way to get amp points is actually running ship hands, veteran ship hands a lot, because you get a random one each time you run it, and it's very different. It's not like you're going to get 10 of the same one generally. They're going to try and give you a lot of different amps. And by doing that, you will fill out a lot of your amp points, which is great. You can also buy them from the PvP vendor or by certain vendors in different reputation areas. So those are things to look out. If you don't know where to get it, I would just look the amp up online or at Jabbit Hole, and you will see where to get it. So 4 points for each one of these. To get to the tier 3 of a certain pie, you need to have 11 points put in. So you could just do 3, and then you could do 4 and 4, or you could have all 9, and you could do, you'd have to go a little bit over. But you need 11 points to get up to the next area here. So I had all these put in, and I get just to 11, but I don't, here, let me put some, oh, actually I don't have any unlocked though, so I can't go any further than that. But that's how I just had it. And that's how a lot of my starting characters have it, because I don't want to go and find the amp unlocks yet. But anyways, we'll talk about the tier 3. At the tier 3, for both assault, support, and utility, the side 2 are very interesting amp points that will cost 6 points each to put it in, or to use it or whatever. The center one only costs 2, and it unlocks an entire new skill for your class. So if you get this one right here, which is called Trimmer, and you put 2 points into it, and you'll go to your assault tree, because that's where that's the pie slice we were looking in, you'll unlock Tremor right here, which deals, it's kind of a PvP CC AoE damaging spell, not a spell, but I don't know, sword attack. And it works like every other one, where there's a tier 4 and a tier 8, and you can start putting points into it once you've unlocked it via the amps. So it's very useful to look at what your new spells or new amp point abilities you can get are within the actual amp tree. Because most people don't realize right when they start that they can unlock certain abilities from the amp tree itself. So I think that's pretty much all I wanted to talk about when it comes to amps. You can have a total of 55 amps. You can buy 10 once you get to level 50. So you'll have a total of 45 when you first hit level 50. And then you can get the amp points very much the same way as you can get the ability points. Elder Gems, PvP Vendor for Prestige, gold medals on Storm Talon and Kelvaroth, and from certain reputation vendors as well, or from the auction house and bags. So it's very similar in that sense. So they work very much in the same way, but they're both handy in different ways. And as you saw here, and I was highlighting a little bit earlier, you can unlearn your amp points here just by right-clicking them. So once I use set or whatever, and then I go back to it and I go to the amp points, you can unlearn by just clicking on them. Whereas before you had to go all the way somewhere and reset all your amps. So it's a huge quality of life change for the game. Ability points, you don't have to even do that. You can just click it down and click it into another one and click use set, and it'll be fine. And that's where we get into our Vince builds, which is the final part of this video, which I can already sense is getting lengthy. When you first download the add-on, Vince builds, and I will try and put it in the description, it'll appear in the middle of your screen. You put your mouse over it and you can control and drag, and I generally move it up here, but you can move it wherever the hell you want. And then once it's up there, you can right-click it and open the actual UI. Now what you see here is you've got equipment and you've got your LAS, which is your action set or your bar down here. And this works very much like a button that will switch your gear and your build on command. Kind of like World of Warcraft has built into it, and they didn't have it all like from the start either. So I'm sure one day Carbine will put their own in, but until then, this add-on works perfectly. So for equipment, and I've got all my DPS equipment on right now, so I don't have to go and change that. It's pretty sad equipment because I'm just questing, but that doesn't matter. What we're going to do is make sure we're clicked with equipment on the side here, so we know we're working on equipment right here. And we type in, or so we know we work, yeah, so we know we're working with equipment. It's on the left here. And you can be double sure by reading that it says link equip with costume, because that's a part that you only do with equipment. So make sure this says equipment here. You can write DPS or whatever the hell you want. And you can link it with a costume once you create it. So I'm going to save DPS. There's DPS, and you can link with costume. I'll link with number 1. I don't even have a costume, but it'll switch to the costume when you switch it too, which is really nice. Not a necessary addition, but it's a nice feature. So we've got DPS here, and whenever we hit save, it just refreshes it. And then we're going to go to our LAS, and we're going to write DPS as well. So this is our DPS rotation. And we're going to go to LAS. What did I want to do? Write DPS as well. That's what I wanted to do. Link equipment with costume, and then you go to your other one, and you can link your LAS with equipment. So you want to make sure that it's linked LAS with equipment as well. And then once you have it all set up, you can go over your equipment, see that it says DPS. You can do the costume if you want, swap back, see DPS, link LAS with equipment. Make sure it's DPS linked with DPS, or else you will have a few issues. And that's perfect. So now we're gonna exit out of here, and we're gonna switch we'll switch our action set. You get 2 action sets at the start of the game. You get both a DPS one and a tank one. Or that's generally people use it as a DPS one and a support one. You can do whatever the hell you want with it. You know, if there's more low-level PvPing in the future, people might use it as a PvP offset. But I recommend at this current point using it as a support off-spec and a assault off-spec. And we'll talk into how you can get around kind of buying another auction set for PvP for a while. So anyways, we switched to our tank spec because I'm a warrior. That's going to be my off spec. Make sure you switch your stance as well, because it'll remember that for you. And then you want to go into your gear, and you want to go through and find, like, I got a tanking sword here that I'll put on. I'm not going to go and grab everything. Base health. This is more tanky. Just put on, like, your other set of gear. This is tank boots. And yeah, so we'll just do the 3 of them or whatever. The sword's actually great because it'll show us switching the gear. So we've got our other set of gear on right now, we'll assume. To open this up again, you just right click it. We'll go to equipment, and instead of do not click save right away, because that'll just rewrite your DPS one as your tank gear, and you'll have to redo the DPS one. Instead, you're going to write tank down here, or whatever else you want your other spec to be, and you're going to save it over so it says tank, and you got tank and DPS, which is great. So you can link it with costume number 2, let's say, and you just click save again. I mean, you don't need to do the costume thing. That's not going to break it or anything. Go over to LAS, and you're going to make a new one called tank. Don't mind the fact that it says DPS yet. You can switch that right after. So you're going to save it as tank, and you're going to see that DPS is lined up with DPS still, so don't change anything there. Because if you accidentally do push save on this one, then your DPS one will load your tank action set, which will be bad. Go to your tank, and then you want to open this, and now you'll see there's a DPS equipment, which we see over here. I'm going to go right back. And a tank one, which was also over on the equipment tab. So we're going to link tank with tank. Make sure it's always tank and tank, DPS, DPS. Don't name it anything complicated so it doesn't get like crazy. And we're going to push save. And then we can look up. They're both good. We can exit out of here. So now you just regularly click this, left click it, and you'll always see there's a DPS and a tank one. So right now we're in tank with our tank sword on. Remember we changed that. If I click DPS, you'll see that our action set changes, our stance changed, and our sword changed. And then we always want to test it that it works the other way. So we hit tank, and everything will change as well. And now we're going to talk about what the limits are and what you can do with this as well. So say you want to PvP at a low level, and actually I'm just going to switch back to DPS because I DPS when I'm in PvP on my warrior. If you wanted to PvP at a low level, you could kind of get by without buying another action set. And you could buy another action set, so you have 2 at the start. You can get 3 of them. You can buy it with Elder Gems for, I don't know, what is it, like 450 Elder Gems at level 50. Generally, people do buy the 3rd one eventually and have a full-on PvP amp set and stuff. But if you want to kind of just deal with like the amps for a while, you can have the Vince builds kind of build you a 3rd spec pretty easily. And I'm going to show you how to do that right now. So we're going to click on this, and we're going to go, we're in LAS, but we could have equipment as well. Say we have some sort of PvP equipment on this guy. Maybe we were buying the low level stuff, or you're level 50 and you have some. You can name PvP as a set. You could have a new costume if you wanted. But we're just going to use our DPS gear because that's what we'd use in low level PvP at the moment. And we'll save it to our equipment list. And now we'll go to an LAS list. And we'll just exit out of this actually for a second. And maybe we'd throw on some more PvP abilities. So for instance, Ripsaw is a pretty nice PvP ability. Maybe we'll toss that on instead of Savage Strike. We'll toss on Ripsaw. to snare people, or whatever it does now. Snare, yeah, still snares, and reduces incoming healing by 40%. That's pretty awesome. So we'll use the set, and then we'll go back to Vince builds, and we're in LAS right now, and we're going to write a PvP action set linked with our PvP set of gear, which is the same as our DPS, but you still want to keep it checked up. And we're going to save that. So now we have 3 LASs, 3 equipment, and if we go to the LAS, and we just want to make sure that the PvP, just make sure that you go back and check that it's linked PvP and PvP, because sometimes when they first come out, they don't save up right away. You just got to make sure. So that looks like everything is what, no, see, DPS is linked with, you can easily switch that, so it's DPS with DPS. Just like that. DPS, DPS, everything's good. And now, if we switch from, so we go to PvP, which we're in right now, so nothing changes. We can go to DPS, which changes our action set down here, and would change our gear as well if we had anything to change. What it won't change for us is our amp points, because it has to reset, and you have to like actually go and buy different amp points, so it's not going to like unbuy everything and buy everything again for you. It won't do that. So that's the advantage of buying the 3rd ability slot, is that you can have a separate amp points for PvP, which there is a lot that are PvP only, like the PvP power. You would only use that in PvP, so it is handy to buy it eventually. But maybe you just hit level 50 and you want to just step your toes in. This would be the way to do it without sinking in the Elder Gems. One final thing to talk about, whenever you're getting new gear, say we are, you know, doing PvP or whatever, so we'll switch to PvP quickly. Say we're doing PvP and we got a new piece of PvP gear, which we'll say we're going to use this assault power gadget instead of the support one we have on. So I'll equip it. So you can see here I equipped the new gadget. And every time you get a new piece of gear, you have to open this up, make sure you're in the equipment area, and we are in our PvP equipment, and we're going to resave it so it remembers that we have this gadget. So now when we switch to DPS, it has our old gadget, and when we switch to PvP, it's got the new gear. Alright guys, so I think that's all I want to cover in this video. It feels like there's a lot I could have forgotten, because there's actually, like, even while talking about this, I couldn't imagine, like, there's so much, like, information here I didn't realize I was going to talk about. But at any rate, do leave a comment if I left something unexplained. I'll try and link the add-on in the description below, so that you can go and find it. If not, just go to Curse Add-ons and type in Vince Builds and you should find it easily. But yeah, that should be everything for this video. I'll see you in the next one. Thanks, guys. Thanks for watching. If you really enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up. If you're new to Wildstar, or have an existing account with no game time left, please try the 10-day free trial either at the Wildstar homepage or by checking out the link I've left in the description below. And finally, if you want to see more videos like this, please subscribe.